that this is not the truth. And he has shredded the truth in his speech. He's shredding the Constitution in his conduct. I shredded his State of His Mind address. Thank you all very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Can you talk about
Thank
the
you.
investigations going
Thank you.
forward?
Wow, a lot to unpack there. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi saying the president is out of step with the reality. Now, she went through his State of the Union address, the one she already ripped into pieces, and then she just pulled it apart, piece by piece, outlining while his claims presented a false reality, misleading the American people, essentially. She said President Trump did not inherit a mess, as he claimed. She said he inherited momentum. She said the stock market was already climbing when he came to office, the economy was improving, and that Obama had reduced the deficit by $1 trillion, that this administration had, in fact, been increasing the deficit. Well, our team is standing by to unpack it all for us. Our Suzanne Malveaux is on Capitol Hill. Stephen Collinson is in Washington for us. I want to start with you first, Suzanne, because the House Speaker called President Trump's State of the Union address a manifesto of mistruths, and she vowed to continue to hold him to account.
It was a fascinating speech there. I mean, she really is not holding back in any way. It's clear that the speaker is unintimidated, unbowed. She said, quite frankly, she feels liberated now, that she's been nothing but gracious. She called his remarks and his behavior classless and appalling, that he's in his own reality TV show that isn't even real. She even, a dig here on impeachment, she said here that he's impeached forever. You will never get rid of that scar. And Lynda, it is not accidental that she kept going back to particular issues when she talked about kitchen table issues, when she talked about working families. Those are the things that she believes Democrats will win on. Those are the kinds of issues that you saw back in 2018 that really were winning issues for them and they believe will resonate with the American people. So she talked about the economy, going back to lowering prescription drugs, to health care, that all of these things were, even infrastructure, education, building roads, broadband, these kinds of things that they wanted to put forward because she hopes that the American people are listening to that and it will resonate with them, and that will be very different than what you've heard, the kind of back and forth, the name calling, really the disrespect on both sides out of Washington. And one more point here, this really was a warning to her colleagues, members in Congress, the Republicans who are like, we have a resolution for you for your behavior in ripping up that State of the Union address. She said to them that she was gracious and that their behavior, shouting 4 more years, was breaking with decorum and protocol, and that was worse than what she had done. So she is challenging them as well. Take me on, I'll take you on as well with your own behavior. So what are we going to see in the weeks ahead? In the weeks ahead, we will hear some proposals about infrastructure. There will be a big debate and battle over the budget and the priorities that expressed from the White House perspective and from Democrats in Congress perspective, and whether or not these two sides can get anything done. She talked about Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell as the Grim Reaper, that they have all these bills, they have these plans, they want to push it forward. She is going to try to emphasize that as much as possible and put it on the Republicans. What are they willing to do for the American people? What is this president willing to do for the American people? But clearly, she is not in any way intimidated or bowed by what has happened in this impeachment process and the acquittal.
Yeah, she certainly isn't. She came out firing on all fours. Suzanne Malveaux, stand by for us. Thank you. I want to go to Stephen. As Suzanne was saying, that Nancy Pelosi did raise a lot of kitchen table issues. She criticised President Trump's claim that 150 million Americans with pre-existing conditions were being protected by him. And she said that President Trump is doing everything to dismantle it, saying that they are currently fighting in the courts right now to protect those people. Stephen, it seems this was the rebuttal to the State of the Union address that was expected immediately after it. It's finally come now.
Yeah, that's right, Lynda. I think what Nancy Pelosi was trying to do here in some ways is reset the political clock after impeachment. She believes that talking about healthcare, a more equitable economy, and social issues is what got the Democrats back the House in the 2018 midterm elections, and that was the reason why she was in many ways reluctant to pursue impeachment in the first place. This is setting out the terms of the 2020 presidential election, much as President Trump did in his speech. You're right to pick up on the issue of pre-existing conditions. That is, before Obamacare, people who had a pre-existing condition like heart disease or cancer found it very difficult to buy insurance. President Trump knows that this is a very popular provision in the Obama health care law. That is why he's saying he is protecting pre-existing conditions, but the administration is trying to dismantle Obamacare in the courts, which would get rid of that provision. So it's very important for Democrats to try and dispel this idea that President Trump is the protector of health care in America rather than the Democrats. Now, you know, this is clearly the stakes of the election being laid out, and I think this is exactly the kind of argument we're going to hear going forward. And I think Nancy Pelosi, the House Speaker, on the issues and on the character of the president, is laying a blueprint for those Democratic presidential candidates. And I think you could argue that she's been much more effective in putting the stakes of the election to the American people than any of those candidates have so far.
It certainly was a fascinating speech. Stephen Collinson for us in Washington, D.C., our Suzanne Malveaux on Capitol Hill. Thanks so much for sticking by. Appreciate it. Well, if you haven't already signed up, I highly suggest you check out Stephen Collinson's Meanwhile in America newsletter. You'll get spot-on analysis about the complex workings of American politics and also your daily dose of other important stories right around the world. We're going to take a quick break. You're watching CNN. Stay with us.